Hello and welcome to the talk with Gabriela Civico. We are very pleased to have her with us today. She is the director of the Center of European Volunteering. So first question, dear Gabriela, which we want to put to you is, what is your daily work like and what do you absolve as a director for this European Volunteer Center, please?
Thank you, Carola. Thank you for inviting me. My job is very varied, but essentially there are two main components. One is to support exchanges between members of our network. Our network is made up of mainly regional, national, and European volunteer organizations, volunteer support organizations, and a lot of my work is dedicated to them, helping them communicate, exchange best practice, learn together, implement European projects together. That's one part of the work. And the other part of the work is more orientated towards the EU institutions. And with them, we are very concerned that they take notice of volunteering, that they fund volunteering, that they support volunteering, that they publicly acknowledge the role of volunteers as part of the European project. That they publicly acknowledge that volunteers every day implement European values. So communicating with the representatives in the EU institutions represents the other important part of my work, let's say.
Thank you for this good information. So we understand maybe a little bit more. And now Berlin has the title of the European Volunteer Capital in this year, and we are very honored. But I wanted to ask you, Gabriela, how did this idea of a European Volunteer Capital arise? Why did you, as a Center for Volunteering in Europe, achieve it? And what is the idea behind all that?
Thank you. Yes, the idea really was born out of 2011. 10 years ago, 2011 was the European Year of Volunteering. I was working then as project manager within the Center for European Volunteering, working for the European Year of Volunteering Alliance, a network of over 30 European networks dedicated to promoting and supporting volunteering. One of the big outcomes of 2011 was a document called the Policy Agenda for Volunteering in Europe, PAVE, which was full of recommendations, informations, ideas about quality volunteering, about what the volunteering policy should be in Europe that would enable volunteering to thrive in Europe. One of the things that we wanted to do after 2011, 2012 onwards was to ensure that this excellent publication and all the recommendations, all the conclusions would also manage somehow to reach the local level. Yes, we think that European volunteering policy is very important, and we work very hard to make sure that European policymakers are aware of the needs of volunteers and the importance of volunteering. But most volunteering policy takes place at the local level. And we wanted to make sure that the local level became aware of this European level work. And we thought, along the lines of other European capital competitions, sports, youth, culture, that having a European volunteering capital would also be a good way that we could make sure that the conclusions, the outcomes of 2011 could find a way to reach the local level. We also knew that the local level needed a lot of support, networking between different municipalities. We knew that there was a need for this. And this was also one of the motivations, is that we could create the community of people involved in organizing volunteering at the municipality level through the conduit of the capital competition.
So the policy making on the very local level might be the most important issue just for thriving. And I wanted to ask you, there have already been, I think, 7 other cities having this title. So what did they achieve? What was their outcome from this 1 year? Could you give us an example, or maybe just tell us what happened in these cities?
I can give you a flavor, a sense of that, and not just for the 7 that won, but also for all the other candidates. I think without question, the process of applying to be the volunteering capital, it enables, it requires a kind of audit about what's happening at the local level. Who are the stakeholders involved in volunteering? How do they cooperate? How do they collaborate? How is it resourced? What's the strategy behind what happens at local level regarding volunteering? So all the candidates and certainly all the winners benefited from that process. And all of the winners and the candidates also that we are in touch with, they tell us that the strengthened cross-sector collaboration at the local level through participating in the competition is a huge outcome which has had a long-lasting impact, those strengthened ties. We also hear that within municipalities, raising the profile of the importance of volunteering, raising the importance and profile of the volunteering departments, also help them to explain better to colleagues in other departments what volunteers are doing, what contributions the volunteers are making to other areas of policy that are not specifically related to active citizenship or volunteering. So really this collaboration, this sharing of best practice, improving quality, is a theme that runs through. In the European Capital Competition, differently to other capital competitions, we don't ask for a special program of activities. The award is not given because a city, because a town will promise to hold a conference or will promise to activate a certain more number of volunteers or will promise to do a volunteer festival or something like this. We give the award to those municipalities that can already demonstrate excellence, that can already demonstrate that they fulfill a certain criteria for appropriate and suitable support to volunteers and volunteering in their city. So, all the candidates already have reached a certain level. And what we see is that participating in the competition enables them to elevate that to another level. They can learn from the other candidates. They can learn from the other winners. They strengthen the partnerships. They strengthen their visibility. And this is what we have seen, that volunteering is strengthened in the eyes of the policymakers, but also in the eyes of the general public around as well, not only in the city, but wider in the country and further afield across Europe, as people look to see how volunteering is organized in the different ways in the different parts of Europe.
Okay, I just learned that we will be a kind of network also, and that we can support each other or give a good example, show how to do and how to enhance the whole volunteering sector.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot for this explanation. It helps me once more to understand it better. So maybe my final question to you would sound like this. What is your dearest wish for us as Berlin, a volunteer capital? What could you think that we could achieve or even have as a progress this year?
Mm-hmm. I hope, as the others, that you will strengthen this collaboration within Berlin, strengthen the understanding between the different actors in the volunteering sector in Berlin. I also hope that you will be able to host other candidates and winners of the European Volunteering Capital Competition, and indeed members of my network, the Center for European Volunteering, in September in Berlin, in the National Volunteering Week. We hope that at least some of us will be able to join you there, and we hope to be able to experience and feel what volunteering is like in Berlin as well. My biggest wish really is that all the volunteers in Berlin would understand that what they are doing is part of Europe, that it's putting European values into action on a daily basis, weekly, annual, whenever you volunteer in Berlin, you are putting European values into action, along with all the other millions of volunteers in other parts of Europe. And I hope that through winning this capital competition, you will feel that connectivity and that affinity with all those other volunteers across Europe as well, and that you will feel part of that community willing to share your experiences, willing to share your motivations, share also your failures and how you've learned to improve your volunteering, to improve your impact, to improve your quality, and that together we can make sure that volunteering across Europe builds its potential, and that the potential of volunteering and the impact of volunteering can also, through the process, increase in Berlin as well. And any support that we can give, or support from the other cities in helping you explore those issues, we are, of course, very willing and very available to do that.
Thank you very much, Gabriela, for this perspective for our future. And I think we can really prosper from this possibility to have much more friends, communities, and tasks, maybe to exchange experiences and stay together, stick together also in this pandemic time. So thank you very, very much for this talk, and I hope we will stay in contact and have contact exactly on this European sphere. Thank you a lot.
We definitely will. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.